the day after Evelyn got engaged. Her assistant handed me a plane ticket. You should go. Don't ever show your face in New York again. Otherwise, Ms. Vance has plenty of ways to destroy you. All those years with her, I was envied by everyone, living the high life. In the end, I left in a state so pathetic it was laughable. I said, fine. But that night, the flight plummeted from over 30,000 feet. I never thought I would die. In my version of the future, I'd take Evelyn's $3 million, move abroad, and get far away from all the toxic people and the drama. The rest of my life would be filled with countless good days. But in the instant the plane went down, everything was gone. I was filled with hate. The ticket Evelyn had someone book for me wasn't to send me off to a better life. It was to send me to my death. I suddenly remembered the last time I saw Evelyn. We hadn't spoken in over 2 months. She was busy arranging Andy Vance's divorce, settling things with his ex-wife and their son. It took her a long time to remember she still had a boyfriend, so she carved out an hour to come to my place. It wasn't really my place, though. The most luxurious part of NYC, where every square inch is gold. Without Evelyn, I could never have set foot in a place like this in my entire life. Not long ago, we were lying in bed together, her arm around my waist. But it was strange. After just a short time apart, we had become complete strangers. We sat at opposite ends of the table, miles apart. She said, "What do you want?" A blunt question. I didn't hold back. 3 years of my youth. I asked for $3 million. Of course, I admit I did love her once. But that love had vanished without a trace the moment I found out I was just a stand-in. She nodded and said okay, her expression ice cold. But you can't stay in New York anymore. He doesn't like being in the same city as you. What could I do? I could only bow my head and agree. Even if I refused, knowing Evelyn's temper, she had a million ways to force me out. And if it came to that, I'd only end up in a worse state. She named a place. I have property over there. Take your pick. Whichever one you like. It's yours. So generous. I smiled. Okay. She gave a slight nod, then asked, "We won't see each other again. You can do that, right?" My existence was definitely an awkward problem for the newly engaged couple. Of course, I replied. I'm an orphan. I barely managed to get through college 3 years ago. I heard there were more opportunities to make money in New York, so I came. I did some modeling for a few days, which I quite liked and enjoyed, but it wasn't long before I ran into Evelyn. She pursued me with grand gestures for 2 weeks, and then we were together. She didn't like me being in the public eye, so I shrank my world until it was just her. It got so small that, in all our years together, everyone I knew was her friend, not mine. I had no attachments here. I couldn't wait to get away and never come back, and never see her again. But fate had other plans. I was already dead, and I was seeing Evelyn again. But she couldn't see me because I was just a ghost. When I was alive, I cared a lot about my appearance. Before boarding, I had a stylist do my hair and changed into a brightly colored shirt I hadn't worn in ages. I hadn't dressed this loud in years, because Evelyn didn't like it. I was so naive back then. I tailored everything to her preferences. But I only found out later that she didn't like it because I only looked most like Andy Vance when I was in a dark suit. My eyes cold, my demeanor silent and reserved. Everyone knew that the A-list actor Andy Vance was famous for his cool, stoic vibe and rugged style, which had made him a sensation. And now, perhaps as a mercy from heaven, I still looked the way I did right before I died. No injuries. Standing in Evelyn's office, I studied my reflection in a mirror for a while before letting out a sigh of relief. I looked around. Here, there. We'd done it everywhere. Truly, a past I'd rather not revisit. Finally, my gaze landed on Evelyn. She was 27 this year, young, rich, and powerful. The biggest stumble she'd ever taken in her life was watching the man she loved marry someone else. And now she was getting a second chance, putting the pieces back together. You could even call it a happy occasion. So, when her assistant came in, he had a natural smile on his face. "Ms. Vance, the child's room is all set up. And all the clothes and accessories Mr. Vance picked out yesterday have been collected." Evelyn hummed softly. She put down the contract she was holding, rubbed her brow, then picked up her phone and looked at it. She stared at it for a long time. I was a little curious. I was about to lean in to see what she was looking at when she turned off the screen. Then I heard her speak. "How is he now?" Lee, the assistant, paused for a second before quickly replying. "Mr. Vance is on set right now. It's not far from here. Would you like to go see him later?" I'd seen the TV show Andy was in. He played the prince of a fallen kingdom. Handsome, brilliant, loving fiercely and hating deeply. In the show, he used his wits to slowly win over the people and masterminded a plan. In the end, he successfully reclaimed his kingdom. If I were just a regular viewer, I would have fallen for him too. Unfortunately, I wasn't. Our first meeting was utterly humiliating. He asked me, "Do you know you have a bit of me in you?" I nodded. I know. He was a huge star. A lot of people said I looked like him, and I always took it as a compliment. He gave a cryptic smile. "You and her have been together for almost 3 years, right?" I said yes. He raised an eyebrow slightly. "Let me put it this way. She was into me 3 years ago." How ridiculous. I'd been with her for 3 years. Not a single person had told me. I'd been a fool, a stand-in, for so long. Of course, I only found out later that the scripts for his shows were all carefully selected by Evelyn before they made their way to him. She couldn't bear to see him suffer any setbacks. So, under her protection, Andy's acting career was smooth sailing. And me? I had accomplished nothing. For all those years, I seemed to be living a glamorous life, but in reality, to outsiders, I was just that guy who's always with Ms. Vance. After Lee spoke, Evelyn was quiet for a long time. She tapped her pen on the desk. After a while, she finally spoke. "He should have arrived by now, right?" The question was a bit out of the blue. But Lee was a pro who'd seen it all, and he caught on quickly. He glanced at his watch. Yes, he should have. I caught on, too. Evelyn was asking about me. I guess she had a sliver of a conscience. Too bad I never made it across the ocean. I died last night. Evelyn showed no reaction to his words. She just lit up her phone again and glanced at it. This time, I was standing right next to her and got a clear look. The screen showed her chat with me. I saw that she had sent me a text half an hour ago. "If you ever run into any trouble, you can contact Lee." In the past, I would never have let more than half an hour go by without replying to her. After hearing Lee's response, Evelyn let out a cold laugh. She leaned back in her chair. "Good. Has he contacted you?" Lee shook his head. "No. After I gave him the ticket that day, we never saw each other again." Evelyn was silent, her face blank. But in that moment, the air seemed to freeze. Seeing this, Lee hesitated for a moment before saying, "Ms. Vance, should I give Mr. Jensen a call?" Evelyn looked up, her gaze distant. It was impossible to tell what she was thinking. After a while, she spoke. "No need. From now on, you don't have to tell me anything about him." After saying that, she glanced at our chat window one more time. Silence from the other end. Still no reply. Her hand hovered over the screen for a moment, and then she deleted all of my contact information. Seeing that, it finally dawned on me. She wasn't concerned about me at all. Those 2 questions were just a courtesy before cutting ties completely. I was so pissed. How could I just die like that? My plan was to block her the second I got off the plane and moved into the luxury villa she gave me. But now she'd beaten me to it. It just felt so unsatisfying. Thinking of this, I lifted my leg and kicked Evelyn's thigh. Back when things were good, Evelyn was nice to me, not putting on any airs. And me, well, I'm the type to push my luck and throw little tantrums. When she pissed me off, I'd give her a little kick like that. So the motion was perfectly smooth and natural. The difference was, back then, if I kicked too hard, it would hurt a little. Now, there was no feeling at all. Couldn't touch her. Great. Even more pissed. After the assistant left, Evelyn worked for a long time. During that time, I tried to leave the office. But before I could even touch the doorknob, I was back by her side. After 2 tries, I understood. I couldn't get too far away from Evelyn. Probably because she was the one who indirectly killed me. It's a shame I didn't become a vengeful spirit. Otherwise, I could have come for her life. Just then, a voice suddenly appeared in my mind. "Finally found you." I jumped. Who are you? I'm from the underworld. Our department had a glitch. All of you who died in that crash are stuck with the person you were closest to in life for the time being. I quickly spoke up. Then get me out of here. Oh, and by the way, I had a lot of money I didn't get to spend. Can I transfer it to my next life? God knows how much I wanted to be truly rich. The underworld employee sounded a bit troubled. I'm not too sure about that. But since you had a tragic death this life, you can have a nicer looking one next time. Fine, whatever. Just get me out of here now. I'm in a hurry to be reincarnated. Not yet. We have to wait until after your funeral. Why? During this time, your soul has formed a bond with the mortal world. Once the funeral is over, that bond will be gone. But from what I know, everyone else's is already being planned. You're a bit of a sad case. Seems like nobody cares that you're dead. Talk about twisting the knife. After explaining all that, the voice disappeared from my mind. I sighed and mentally ran through everyone I knew. Finally, I came to a conclusion. I was probably going to be a lonely ghost forever. After a long time, Evelyn finally prepared to leave. 2 minutes earlier, Andy had called and asked her to pick him up. I followed her downstairs and into the car. I didn't look at Evelyn. I watched the scenery outside the window. Skyscrapers, bustling traffic, a city so vibrant it felt like a dream. I was full of regret. I was in the prime of my life, and because of one failed relationship, this was my end. I couldn't accept it. That $3 million breakup fee, I hadn't even spent a dime. Seriously, this was just too much. My eyes started to well up. When we arrived, Evelyn got out of the car. A moment later, Andy came out and threw himself into her arms. Evelyn's body stiffened for a second, then she gave a soft smile. How was it? Are you tired? Andy nodded and started telling her about his day. He had a great voice. Even the most boring story sounded vivid and interesting coming from him. They were holding hands, fingers intertwined. They even wore matching engagement rings. Andy had been in countless popular on-screen couples over the years, but looking at him and Evelyn now, I had to admit they were a perfect match. Just then, some people came out from inside. They were talking as they walked. Did you see what's trending? Plane crashed last night. Over 100 people, no survivors. Yeah, I saw that. I was supposed to go abroad for vacation. Even booked a ticket on that exact flight. Luckily, I got this role at the last minute and couldn't go. I'm so lucky to be alive. My spirits lifted instantly. Evelyn was actually a pretty generous person. If she knew I was dead, she might just hold a funeral for me. Sure enough, upon hearing those words, Evelyn froze as she was getting into the car. She slowly turned, let go of Andy's hand, and walked over. She looked at the two of them. Her expression was quite calm. She asked, "Last night?" The two of them nodded. Yeah. Evelyn was about to ask more, but Andy suddenly got out of the car, walked to her side, and said with displeasure, "You never care about this kind of stuff. I'm starving. Let's go get something to eat." A moment ago, Andy was far away and wearing sunglasses. The two people hadn't recognized him. Now that he spoke up, they froze for a second, then their faces lit up with surprise. "Mr. Vance, this must be your fiancé." Andy's relationship with his ex-wife, Catherine, had been kept secret, but his relationship with Evelyn was a huge public affair. When the news of their engagement hit the internet, everyone said they were a match made in heaven. The hateful part was I got dragged into it too. Netizens didn't care about right or wrong. Andy and Evelyn knew each other first. Plenty of their old classmates could prove it. So, I became the homewrecker everyone despised, the evil man who used a slightly similar vibe to interfere in someone else's relationship. During that time, I couldn't even bring myself to look at my phone. Andy smiled slightly and admitted it freely. "Yes. Wow, she's so beautiful. You two are so perfect together. When's the wedding? Mr. Vance, we're from the crew next door. We've been fans for so long but never had a chance to meet you. Could we get your autograph?" Andy readily agreed. Interrupted, Evelyn lost the urge to ask any more questions. My hopes were dashed in an instant, but I wasn't surprised. I'd known for a long time that in Evelyn's heart, Everything and everyone came second to Andy. His smiles, his tears, his divorce drama, even him being hungry. She would pour 120% of her attention into it. Sure enough, while Andy was signing autographs, I saw her make a call, telling her assistant to cancel their original dinner reservation and book one closer to where they were. I followed them to dinner and then back home. Throughout the whole thing, Evelyn was incredibly patient. If I still loved her, I probably would have been heartbroken, wishing I could cry myself into oblivion. But I didn't love her anymore. I just felt numb. There were even a few moments when I wondered, I've lived a good life and never done anything wrong. So how did I end up dead with no one caring? When we walked in the door, I saw that the villa had completely changed. It was nothing like when Evelyn and I were still together. Mrs. Davis came down the stairs, holding the hand of a little boy who looked to be only 3 or 4. He was wearing a cartoon t-shirt, his hair naturally curly, and his eyes were big and bright. He was a handsome kid. Andy waved. "Max, come here." His name was Max. Max ran over, jumped into Andy's arms, then grabbed Evelyn's hand. "Auntie Evelyn." Evelyn knelt down, stroked his hair, and asked patiently, "Were you a good boy today?" What a picture-perfect family of 3. Who would have thought that the great Miss Vance, a titan of the business world, would stoop so low for love that she'd raise another woman's child?
Max nodded eagerly.
I was good. Just then, the doorbell rang, a bit jarring, interrupting the moment. Mrs. Davis went to open the door and returned a moment later with a package. She looked at Andy, hesitating, before finally saying, "I think this is from Mr. Jensen." For a moment I was dazed. A memory I had deliberately forgotten after death floated back into my mind. That's right. Before I left, I had sent Evelyn a box. There were 2 things inside. The appearance of the box silenced the villa instantly, until Max started crying in Andy's arms, pointing at the box in Mrs. Davis's hands. "Throw it away. That's from the bad uncle, wha." His tantrum left Andy at a complete loss. He lowered his head and cooed softly at his son. Okay, whatever you say. Daddy will throw it away right now." With that, he gave Mrs. Davis a look. Mrs. Davis understood, her expression a little troubled. She glanced at Evelyn. The woman's gaze was lowered, staring at the object in Mrs. Davis's hands for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "Throw it away." Mrs. Davis sighed, turned, and went out the door. When she returned a moment later, her hands were empty. Andy watched and said casually, "Your little stand-in is pretty clingy, isn't he?" I gritted my teeth and swore under my breath. Damn right I am. I'm a ghost who can't leave. I'm the bad uncle, the little stand-in. If they've got the guts, why don't they hire someone to perform an exorcism and make me disappear from this world for good? Hearing this, Evelyn's expression didn't change at all. She didn't argue. She just said, "Is that so?" Andy smiled, had Mrs. Davis take Max back to his room, and then leaned his head on Evelyn's shoulder with a hint of melancholy. "Max is adorable, isn't he? I wish he were your son, too." I had met Andy's ex-wife, Catherine. She was a well-known entrepreneur, mature, composed, and elegant. Andy didn't come from a wealthy family and had been fiercely independent since he was young, like the male lead in a romance novel. In his sophomore year of college, at the peak of his youth, he met both Evelyn and his ex-wife. Evelyn was just a student back then and always kept a low profile at school. Andy was attracted to her, but that attraction was nothing compared to his future. To win him over, his ex-wife invested in a show for him. By the time Evelyn found out, they were already together. At the same time, Andy also found out about Evelyn's family background. He naturally regretted it, but he was too proud. After that, he never contacted Evelyn again. Until a few months ago, when he discovered his girlfriend was cheating on him. Only then did he come back to Evelyn, begging. And so, my beautiful love story came to an end. Andy looked up. "You know, Evelyn, you can't have children. Max might be the only child you ever have. I don't mind." Evelyn cut him off, her voice firm. Andy let out a breath of relief, glanced toward the door, and said in a pleading tone, "That's easy for you to say, but what if What if your little stand-in had something that could tie him to you for life? Like if he got some serious illness and needed you to take care of him forever, would you still have sent him away so easily? Evelyn frowned. I never deal in hypotheticals. Oh, come on, just tell me. I want to hear what you think. What was there to think? She obviously would have left me to fend for myself. Even though when we were together, she had actually talked about marriage, had custom-made matching rings with me, and discussed what it would be like if we adopted a child, but those were all what-ifs. The reality was, the moment Andy came back, she didn't even give me a breakup line. She just immediately distanced herself from me. Later, she coldly watched everything I went through, and then paid me off. But now, Evelyn was silent for a moment, then simply pushed Andy away. Her voice was cold, and maybe a little tired. Don't bring him up again. Andy said, but you were together for so long. Haven't you thought about him at all these past 2 days? Evelyn pressed her lips together and shot Andy a cold look from under her lashes. He's already gone. Aren't you satisfied? Originally, Evelyn had planned to send me away before their engagement. But Andy wasn't happy about it. On our engagement day, let's invite him to watch. The kid was with you for a while after all. He should be there to witness it, don't you think? Because of that one sentence, my departure was delayed by half a month. At their engagement party, I sat in the audience and watched the whole thing. As luck would have it, Max was sitting right next to me. He looked at me, called me Big Brother sweetly, and asked me to get him some food. But the moment I raised my hand, he fell off his chair, and his arm was cut by a shattered glass. He started crying. Big Brother, why did you push me? Everyone looked at me with contempt. They thought, this man is so vicious. When he couldn't get what he wanted, he resorted to hurting a child. Before I could even react, Evelyn slapped me across the face. After she hit me, I looked up and saw Andy looking at me with a smug expression. He said, I knew we shouldn't have let you come. And now, as a ghost listening to this conversation, I finally understood. Whether I was innocent or not was completely irrelevant to Evelyn. Everything she did was just to make Andy happy. Andy pursed his lips, then suddenly reached out to unbutton Evelyn's shirt and leaned in to kiss her. Evelyn didn't refuse, but she didn't embrace him either. Just then, her phone rang. Andy, annoyed, snatched the phone and put it on speaker. I crouched in the corner and heard the person on the other end say, Hello, may I ask if you know a Mr. Leo Jensen? Evelyn's eyes flickered, and she was about to speak. But Andy had already said, wrong number. With that, he blocked the number and turned off the phone. I don't care. I finally have a day off. No matter what's going on, you have to spend it with me first. They went upstairs. Luckily, the distance wasn't too great. I could move around freely downstairs. I didn't have to follow them up. And so, I spent several more days by Evelyn's side. The first day, they went to see a movie, an older film. Andy picked it. Evelyn paid no attention to the movie, her head down, texting her assistant, Lee. After he finished his work report, the typing bubble appeared on the screen for a long time, but no message came through. Evelyn frowned and typed, Are you asking for time off? Lee quickly sent a message back. No, Ms. Vance. Have you seen what's trending? Mr. Vance has a new movie coming out soon. Is that so? Remind me when it's out. I clicked my tongue. This Lee guy really knew how to talk. The theater was crowded. I had been hovering near someone else, watching a few short videos and a couple of web series episodes. I had seen what was trending. A day later, the plane crash was still at the top of the trending list, not going anywhere. All Evelyn had to do was click on it to see. What Lee probably wanted to ask about was that, but Evelyn had previously told him not to tell her anything about me anymore. That's why Lee had to ask so indirectly. After replying, Evelyn looked up at the screen and froze for a long time. She had just realized that this movie was my favorite. I had pestered her into watching it with me several times. As we watched, we would end up making out on the couch. Young and full of passion, day and night. After a moment, Evelyn suddenly stood up. Andy, wearing sunglasses and a hat, asked in a low voice, What's wrong? I'm stepping out for a bit. She left the theater, left the mall, and stood outside. Before she knew it, The ground around her was littered with cigarette butts. The next day, Andy went to the set, and Max came down with a fever. Evelyn took him to the hospital herself. After finally getting Max settled, Evelyn stood in a corner, staring out the window, lost in thought. A nurse walked by, not seeing her, and chatted with a colleague. "That little boy with the fever, he was here a few days ago, remember?" "I remember. It was a huge deal. The hospital director personally came to greet them. But I thought it was just a scratch. Who knows? Kids, you know. Once they start crying, it's a whole production. But I remember there was a man with them trailing behind. I heard he was the one who intentionally hurt the kid. I know the one. He was pretty handsome. He was muttering about bad luck and a Rolls Royce under his breath. As he was talking, his voice started to crack. I even gave him a tissue. He was very polite, said, 'Thank you' to me. Didn't seem like a bad person. Yes, that person was me. I agreed to delay my departure and attend the engagement party. The condition was a Rolls Royce. 2 of them. I was terrified of being poor. In the 2 months Evelyn had deliberately kept her distance, I'd tasted a lot of hardship. After that slap, I wanted to explode right there. But the thought of those luxury cars made me hold it in. Besides, I really was powerless against them. And now Evelyn, standing nearby, actually chuckled when she heard this. But a second later, she couldn't smile anymore, because the other nurse continued. I remember now. I'd seen him before that. I was delivering something across the way and saw him coming out of the specialist clinic for a follow-up. It's hard to describe the expression on Evelyn's face at that moment. Her lips were slightly parted, her back slumped a little. Her hand, hanging by her side, clenched into a loose fist. She looked completely lost. Just then, Max's voice came from inside the room. He said, "Auntie Evelyn." Evelyn went in. She stood by the bed, looking at the little boy who was delirious with fever, and suddenly asked, "That day, did that handsome big brother really push you on purpose?" Max was just a little kid and he felt awful. He stammered for a long time, and finally, unable to keep up the lie, his lips trembled and he said, "I fell by myself." That night, Evelyn stood outside the hospital room, staring at the specialist building across the way, for the entire night. Watching her back, I remembered too. When I died, my illness was already quite advanced. The reason I agreed to leave so readily, apart from being blinded by the money, was that I wanted to find a place to get treatment in peace. If Evelyn had known, she would never have agreed. It wasn't because I loved her. It was because she was rich and powerful, and she would have used every means possible to keep me. And I didn't want to live that kind of life anymore. My mind was clear. With the money she gave me, I could focus on my health. Life would have been perfect. At the first light of dawn, she called the hospital director. By the time she hung up, she knew. I had left while hiding a serious illness. She put her phone away, leaned her forehead against the wall, and let out a short, sharp laugh. "Leo Jensen, you've really outdone yourself." 2 minutes later, I watched as she expertly typed in a string of numbers. It was my number, but for some reason she hesitated, not making the call. After a long moment, she opened her messaging app, found my number, and sent a friend request. I didn't get it. What was she trying to do? Force me to come back for treatment? Sigh. She didn't have to. I was already good and dead. That afternoon, Max was discharged from the hospital. But Evelyn wasn't at home with him, nor was she at the office. Instead, she drove to the place where I used to live. It was the apartment she had given me. After we broke up, she never mentioned it. So I took the initiative and sold it. For a high price, too. I was happy about it for days. But now, I was watching her punch in the code and open the door. She walked inside. The furnishings hadn't changed much. It was exactly as I had left it. So the buyer was her. Did she love this apartment that much? She gave it to me, then bought it back from me. I really don't understand the way rich people think. She walked around the apartment, then finally sat down. Someone called her. It was Lee's voice. "Ms. Vance, we've scheduled the pre-wedding photo shoot. It's for the day after tomorrow. If there are no issues on your end, I'll go ahead and inform Mr. Vance." Evelyn was silent for a very long time. She didn't say a word. I was getting tired too, so I sat down on the other end of the sofa. The next moment, Evelyn's gaze suddenly shifted. It landed right on me. I froze, almost thinking she could see me, but she slowly pulled her gaze away and finally spoke. Cancel it. What? But I checked. The day after tomorrow works for both you and Mr. Vance. So, next week then? I had found out over the past few days. Their wedding was in 2 months. No, what I mean is, the photo shoot is off. We're not doing it. I couldn't figure Evelyn out anymore. After saying that, she spoke again. Book me a flight. I'm leaving tonight. As those words fell, it was as if Evelyn had finally figured something out. She leaned back, a surprisingly gentle look on her face. She said, I'm going to find him. He left in such a hurry. There were so many things we didn't get to say. Do you think he'll blame me for how cruel I was about it all? I was stunned. The him Evelyn was talking about, was it me? Evelyn sighed, her grip on her phone tight. She was usually so cold and reserved, rarely speaking to anyone so openly. These few sentences were completely out of character. She had always believed Andy was the love of her life. But over these past few days, she had slowly realized that it might have just been an obsession. She couldn't lose her Leo and lose him just because of a youthful fantasy she couldn't have. However, Lee, on the other end, didn't agree right away. He hesitated, then finally said, Ms. Vance, a few days ago, Mr. Jensen passed away. That flight crashed. I immediately perked up. Evelyn's hand trembled slightly, and her face went pale. Everything she had deliberately ignored over the past few days came flooding back. The chat window with no reply. The trending topic that kept coming up. One thing after another. If she had paid just a little more attention, she wouldn't be finding out about this only now. Lee's voice came from the other end, extremely cautious. Ms. Vance? Evelyn's voice had become a bit hoarse. When did you know? Not long after it happened. He paused, then added, the day you told me not to tell you anything more about Mr. Jensen. I nodded silently. That's right. I can vouch for Lee on that. Evelyn was unreasonable and decisive. When she made a decision, her subordinates could only obey. Or maybe, in Lee's mind, I was insignificant to Evelyn. She would never think of me again, let alone ask about my whereabouts. As an assistant, why would he go out of his way to do something thankless and offend the future Mr. Vance? Evelyn's face was grim. Standing next to her, even I could tell she was not in a good state. The next moment, she shot up and viciously kicked the coffee table in front of her. My heart ached a little. I picked out that coffee table myself. It was pretty expensive. Evelyn got up, and as if she'd suddenly remembered something, she unblocked the number Andy had blocked. Then she dialed it. Her fingertips were trembling. Her other hand uncontrollably pulled a cigarette from the pack on the table and lit it. Leo Jensen. He's dead, isn't he? The person on the other end was silent for a moment, then finally spoke. My condolences. After hanging up, Evelyn sat alone for a long time before driving home. The moment she walked in the door, she had only one sentence. You knew all along, didn't you? Andy was wearing a face mask and watching a movie. Hearing her, he instinctively replied, What? Why are you back so late? Max was asking where you were all afternoon. You should go upstairs and check on him. Evelyn's lips twisted into a smirk as she walked up to Andy. Her eyes were ice cold. I had never seen her like this before, let alone Andy. He backed away, his voice rising. What's wrong with you? Freaking out like this? I'm not like your little stand-in. I have a temper, you know. At those words, Evelyn, for some reason, started to laugh. And as she laughed, tears streamed down her face. I remember he had a big temper too. The day I slapped him, I thought he was going to cause a huge scene at our engagement party. But he didn't. Only the favored ones dare to be reckless. By then, I already knew my place in her heart. How would I have dared? The color drained from Andy's face. Leo Jensen, you found out about him? Yes. What? Don't tell me that now that he's dead, you've suddenly realized you were actually in love with him? Evelyn's lips pressed into a thin line. That's right. The wedding's off. I'm not marrying you. Andy shot to his feet. No. You promised you'd marry me, that you'd treat Max like your own son and be good to us for the rest of our lives. You can't go back on your word. Evelyn's brow furrowed as she spoke each word with chilling clarity. If you hadn't insisted he stay for our engagement party, he wouldn't be dead. Andy froze, then started to laugh. You're blaming me? You're actually blaming me. If you weren't hung up on him, would I have had to do that? You probably don't even know. Do you? You call out his name in your sleep. When we go shopping, you always pick out clothes in his favorite style and his size. You already fell for him. If you ask me, you're the hypocrite. You're the one who killed him. Besides, when I said he should stay for the engagement party, you were visibly relieved. You wanted to see him more too. Didn't you? Evelyn listened in silence, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. I stood by, a little stunned. What the hell was all this? It started to rain outside, with loud claps of thunder. Inside, the two of them faced off. From upstairs came Max's crying, "Mommy, Auntie." Evelyn looked up, her eyes shot with red, and pointed at the front door. She said to Andy, Get out now." Andy and his mother left that very night. Watching this drama unfold, to be honest, I didn't feel any satisfaction. I just felt it was all absurd. At this point, I almost wished Evelyn had loved Andy all along. Otherwise, it just makes my death look ridiculous. A love realized too late is a love I don't want. After the villa finally fell quiet, Evelyn collapsed onto the sofa, her gaze empty. After a long while, I heard a suppressed sob. Come to think of it, I'd never seen her cry before. A long time passed. I was about to doze off. But Evelyn suddenly shot up and ran outside like a madwoman. She started digging through the trash cans. The rain poured down on her, and in no time, she was a complete mess. Luckily, I was a ghost and couldn't feel any of it. She muttered, "Where is it? I was wrong. I shouldn't have thrown it away." Oh, so she was looking for the package I sent her. She searched for an entire night, but found nothing. She sat by the door, utterly dejected. Thankfully, this was a gated community, so there weren't many people around to see her like this. Mrs. Davis didn't sleep here. When she arrived the next day, she was startled. "Ma'am, what are you?" A flicker of life returned to Evelyn's face. She said, "The package he sent, you were the one who threw it away, but I can't find it." Mrs. Davis froze, her expression changing. After a moment, she said, "Actually, I didn't throw it away." Evelyn looked up, her eyes shining with a startling brightness. "Where is it?" Mrs. Davis headed toward her room, with Evelyn following close behind, step for step. Mrs. Davis sighed. "Mr. Jensen is a good young man, not a bad bone in his body. Going to such a faraway place all by himself. Who knows when he'll be back?" Evelyn's steps faltered, her breath catching in her throat. "He's not coming back." Mrs. Davis didn't understand what she meant, just assuming Evelyn was determined to keep me away forever. She shook her head. "Such a shame. Before, he would always ask me what you like to eat, wanted to cook for you. He also said he didn't really like wearing such stuffy suits, but since you liked it, he liked it. He even asked me once if he had a similar vibe to Mr. Vance." The young man was all smiles. I didn't have the heart to tell him the truth, so I said he was even more handsome than Mr. Vance. He was so happy when he heard that. Evelyn turned her head, her hands trembling uncontrollably at her sides. Her eyes instantly turned red. In the end, the box made its way into Evelyn's hands. She treated it like a treasure, taking it back to her room. She placed her hand on it, but her hand was covered in dirt. She quickly used a tissue to wipe the box clean and didn't dare touch it again. Instead, she went to take a shower and change into clean clothes first. This was probably the longest shower she had ever taken. Watching all this, I felt bored. When a person dies, it's like a lamp going out. Everything is empty. She opened it, but her expression slowly stiffened. Inside was an invitation to their engagement party. On the back, I had written a line of text. "The party favors sucked. I didn't push him. Go to hell." Well, in the end, I was the one who died. I guess you could say my harsh words came back to bite me. The other item was the pair of matching rings we had made together. Hers, whether by accident or on purpose, had been lost long ago. She had barely worn it. I found it in the grass downstairs from my old apartment building. Now I was returning it to her along with mine. After all, she was the one who paid for them. You could call it returning property to its rightful owner. Evelyn stared for a long time before she raised her hand and took off the ring she shared with Andy. She put on the one from the box. After that day, she fell into a deep depression. Not long after the news of her broken engagement with Andy got out, he was exposed for his diva behavior and bullying new actors. His reputation plummeted. But this time, Evelyn didn't help him handle it. She even said, "Add more fuel to the fire. Women are terrifying." As the days passed, she still hadn't remembered to arrange my funeral. Even the guy from the underworld couldn't help but come and rush her. "How about I pull some strings and let you say a word to her?" But that same night, Evelyn, from days of not sleeping, got into a car accident. The day she was about to wake up, the sun was shining brightly. I stood by the window and suddenly spoke. "Evelyn." Her eyelashes trembled. She seemed to want to open her eyes but couldn't. I said, "I have no family and no friends. For old time's sake, could you hold a funeral for me? Make it a lively one. We won't see each other in the next life." After I spoke, the hospital room was quiet for a long time. After a while, I heard a very low voice. "Okay,